What is the most addictive substance on the planet? Now, when I first asked myself this question, immediately my mind went to it's got to be sugar. Widely available, widely accepted. Almost everybody is using it, right? And they do it openly, freely. As a matter of fact, they say if you don't use this substance, there's probably something wrong with you. So I thought it was sugar, but then I said, wait a minute. There are now groups and organizations who are speaking against sugar, and it is now widely understood that sugar is no good for the human body. So then I thought to myself, okay, maybe it's coffee because there's no organization against coffee, right? Surely it has to be coffee. There is no real taboo around it. Sure, there might be a few individuals who speak against it, but almost everybody is addicted to the substance known as coffee, and it has built a $1 trillion industry, or at least a multi-billion dollar industry. But when I really started to dig and ask myself at a deeper level as far as addiction is concerned, I realized that it was no physical substance at all. As a matter of fact, it was a psychological and emotional substance known as external validation. That's right. The reason why Apple is a $1 trillion company and the reason why the products that you get on Apple's device all become these multi-billion, if not $1 trillion companies is because we are hooked to external validation, the validation of others. We are hooked to the attention, the affirmation, and the acceptance of strangers. And that is what pushes this industry. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I'm against these things. I'm not anti anything, as a matter of fact. I believe that these are tools that can be used. As a matter of fact, they are allowing you to get this message right now, which is hopefully of value to you at this very moment in your life. But nevertheless, it doesn't take away from the reality that we as a people, we as a culture, we as human race have become absolutely infatuated and addicted with the idea of having others approve of us. Now, is this a new phenomenon? Absolutely not. Is it going away? I don't think so. But I do believe that it has spiked in its users or addicts per se, right? There are more addicts now and more hardcore addicts of external validation than there's ever been in the history of mankind. And that I know without a shadow of a doubt, because never before have we had the ability to access so much external validation. Back in the day, before the phones and the tech existed, you could step into a village and maybe a few people pay attention to you and validate you. Maybe you could do some things in order to impress the people in that village, and they would pay you attention and they would pay you affection or whatever it may be, right? Maybe you could be the biggest whiner in the entire village and that would get you attention. Just like nowadays, things don't change much for humanity. Anyway, you find yourself in a place where you are seeking that external validation, but you can't necessarily find it in every space and every place, right? And at a certain point in time, the people around you may start to think to themselves, well, we can't just live our lives to, service this individual, all the attention and affection and admiration they want by simply, propping themselves up as a victim. We need this person to be productive in our culture, in our society. But step into 2023 and beyond. As a matter of fact, before 2023, we can go back even 10 years from this date, 10 years back, right? 2013, when some of these apps started really picking up momentum. We already started seeing an uptake in depression, anxiety amongst our youth, right? Teenagers, adolescents, etc. And that depression spike was coming as a direct correlation from social media. And when you break it down to its foundational element, what it was really rooted in is this thing of external validation. When you have a generation that has not learned how to validate themselves, they will always seek that validation elsewhere. Therefore, if they find a tool and a mechanism that can basically be a constant feed or constant feedback loop of that external validation, even if it's synthetic like it is on these devices, nevertheless, it's going to feel as if it is satisfying that need until. And that until is a moment that every single one of us are going to come face to face with at some point in our life experience. Now, whether or not we listen is up to us. Whether or not we do anything about it is up to us. But nevertheless, we're going to come to a place where every single one of us has to face that. We have to face the reality that this addiction to external validation is not serving us. As a matter of fact, it's going to leave us in a worse place than not seeking it in the first place, than feeling invalidated, quote unquote, ever would. And the reason for this is, in essence, we're looking for validation in all the wrong places, right? Looking for love in all the wrong places. When you look for something in a place that it is not, you are inherently at a loss. Think about it. If I am looking for gold in a space that it does not exist, I am deprived of that gold, regardless of how deep I may dig. And that is a reality when it comes to external validation. So when it comes to breaking this addiction, we first have to recognize that it is an addiction. We have cultivated and created an addiction from our youth, right? Now, I don't know what your life experience was. I don't know what your story is. You can share it in the comments if you so choose. But there was a point in time where there was a belief that your needs would not be met internally, or they could not be met internally or within your nucleus. Therefore, you had to go externally to seek those fulfilled needs, or to seek somebody or something that will fulfill that need. And oftentimes, more times than not, we go to other people. So we get ourselves in intimate relationships or friendships, or we go to family members and we create these groups and we create these organizations and these communities that are centered around getting ourselves that sense of validation, when in truth, it would never suffice. In truth, it would never be enough, regardless of how much we get. As a matter of fact, it is like a drug, in the same way that it's like the more you get, the more you want, right? You're always looking for that first high. You're looking for that first feeling that you had, and you're forever chasing that. And the longer you're chasing it, the further away you're actually getting from it. That's the irony in the entire thing. That's the whole gag about this thing, right? Is the more that you seek that external validation, the more that you need. Whereas once you start to cultivate that internal validation, understanding and knowing and recognizing that you are enough and you're a whole in and of yourself, coming back to that place of realization is vital. And there's no other way around it. I've looked, trust me. I've got the map and I've looked everywhere. I look for alternate routes all the time. I was a master of justifying my looking elsewhere, until I realized that it just wouldn't do, right? I wish I could tell you that if you just got in the right relationship, then you would feel valid. If you just got with the right person, right, they would validate you for a lifetime and you would feel validated. But in all honesty, even if you got with Prince Charming and Princess Charming, whoever they may be, no matter how much they validate you, they could validate you from sunrise to sunset, and it still would not be enough. It would not suffice, because that's not where you're supposed to be getting your supply. That's not your source. Your source is internal. Now, we may think to ourselves, what is internal? Is it in my guts? Is it in my heart? No, it's in the inner aspects, or the core aspects of who you are, your soul, the thing that animates you, right? You should understand by now, or hopefully you understand by now, that you are not this body per se, but instead you are this essence that is having an experience through this body. How do I know this? Because if you just look at a corpse by itself, inanimate, where's the personality, right? That's grandma, but where grandma at? So we have to recognize that when we're looking for these things, it's actually internal, and the addiction can only be broken when we understand that there is a source elsewhere. When an addict fully realizes that there's something better on the other side, something more fulfilling on the other side, then they'll make the decision to let go of that drug. And that only comes from a recognition from self. You're the only one who can make that decision for yourself. Nobody else can do it for you, period. Now, for those who are in that place right now, I want to take it to the next level. I want to extend this olive branch to you guys. My first published book, Doing Me Guilt-Free. Now, you're going to get a smaller version of this one when you buy it, the paperback version, but this is my Reader's Digest, or my original manuscript, actually, with all my beautiful typos in it. So make sure to get yourself a copy of Doing Me Guilt-Free, Breaking Free from People Pleasing and Unleashing Your True Personal Power. This is a powerful, powerful, powerful book. I often say it's the book that I wish I had when I was 7 years old or 17 years old. It would have changed my life then, as it has changed my life at this very moment in time. I'm not saying that because I wrote it. It literally came through me. I was just a vehicle for it. And I go through it and I still think to myself, damn, I need that right now. Just as a reminder of who I truly am, and that this life is to be lived completely and absolutely, as opposed to on the back burner and in fear of what other people may perceive me as, or whether or not I would get my needs met through those people. So that's that. And that's that. Appreciate you guys for tuning in as always. Much love to you guys. I'm Aquarius Wave, and I'm out.